Hey, I'm Andrea Featherstone from Project Self, and I've partnered with Medibank for their really awesome Live Better at Home program to help you spend a little bit less time crying on the floor under your desk and a little bit more time feeling resilient and strong and clear, even in the midst of the COVID chaos. So as I've mentioned in the past couple of videos, stressful events like a massive pandemic can sometimes make our mind gain a lot of momentum, makes it a lot busier in our head, and we can become really indecisive, and we can also get really overwhelmed with some unhelpful overthinking. So one of the things we can do to help to separate from some of the unhelpful thoughts are to start to really see them for what they are, as separate to us, as little thoughts that are popping up in the mind that may or may not be true. Right? So one thing you can do is to start to become aware of what are the top 3 things that your mind spends its time thinking about. So you might even like to get a pen and paper and write down, if you can, what are the top 3 things, or the top 5, whatever you choose, however many you want. What are the things that you just hear your mind say to you all the time? So as I mentioned in one of your other videos, my mind always plays the tape like, I don't fit in, I'm always the weird one on the outside, people don't understand me, why am I so weird, all those kinds of things. Or I'm not good enough, it doesn't matter how many great things happen in my life, my mind is like, oh, you could be doing better, So some of those things are the repetitive tapes that my mind always plays. So I'm an overachieving, indecisive, perfectionist control freak. So my mind is always saying, you're not enough, Andrea, you're not enough, you need to do more, you've not done a good enough job at that. No matter what external validation I get, the mind is always like, nah, you could be better. So those are some of the tapes that I know that my mind plays all the time. Now, an interesting thing to know about the mind is that it is not based in reality a lot of the time. So you might have heard of the negativity bias. So I'll explain it for those of you who haven't heard of it before. Say 10 things happen to you in one day. 5 of them are positive, 4 of them are neutral, 1 of them is negative. Which one are you thinking about when you're falling asleep at night? Right? It's the negative one. So the brain is like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive experiences, right? The mind is actually wired to focus on the negative. Now we think about it like this. If you had a couple of cave people sitting around drinking a cup of cave person tea back in the caveman days, caveman and women days, they're having a great time, but one of them's quite pessimistic and one of them's a bit of an optimist. They hear a rustle from behind some bushes nearby. The pessimist is like, oh God, and just runs off. Has no idea what it is. And the optimist is like, oh, I love surprises, sticks around to find out what it is. When it turned out to be a tiger behind those bushes, which of those 2 people do you think survived that interaction? Right? It was the pessimist. So the people who had the most anxious, the most highly catastrophic thinking, the biggest pessimists, they are our ancestors. They are the ones who survived evolution from running away from all the tigers to pass on our brains to us. And all the positive people, the optimists, they were killed by tigers, right? So we have this thing called the negativity bias, which means we don't actually see things as we are. We see them through a filter of the negativity bias. So it's like the opposite of seeing things through rose-tinted glasses. We actually see things through maybe grey or blue tinted glasses. And this is especially the case when there's a global pandemic going on, because the news is really a lot of negativity, which actually heightens the activity in the areas of our brain that really are responsible for rumination and negative thinking. So if everyone brings their hands together for me like this, imagine that these are all your thoughts and feelings. So I'm not good enough, or that guy's really annoying. Bring your fingers up in front of your eyes like this and notice how much of reality you can see right now. Not a lot, right? Now just bring your hands down in front of you and notice how much of reality you can see right now, right? So the idea with mindfulness is not that we're getting rid of the thoughts and feelings. It's just simply that we're bringing them down and noticing, oh, there's my repetitive thoughts. And that's why we use that technique I mentioned in one of the videos to name your mind. So, oh, that's Neville thinking about how ugly I am again. Thanks, Neville. That's my mind's name. And just starting to see it for what they are, separate from ourselves, right? Now, the mind is conditioned by our society and by the way we're brought up, and billboards and advertising and things that are constantly saying, you're a bit rubbish, really, and if you bought this, you'd be a bit happier, but you're still quite rubbish, so maybe buy this as well, because you're very broken as a human. And over time, your mind takes on those messages, so we get a lot of not good enough thoughts happening in our mind, so we need to start to not take those thoughts so seriously. So the best thing you can do, apart from becoming aware of the repetitive tapes, because that helps you see them for what they are, rather than getting caught in the thought loop with them, is to ask yourself when you have any thought, is this helpful? not is this true? Is this helpful? For example, every morning I look in the mirror and my mind goes, oh God, you're looking wrinkly. And I think, well, that's actually true. I'm a lot wrinklier than when I was in my 20s, right? But it's not helpful. It doesn't make me feel good. It might be true, but it's not helpful. So then I choose not to take that thought too seriously, or not to go into a spiral of thinking about it, and instead bring my attention back to the present moment via the 5 senses, which is something I talked about in another one of these videos. So asking yourself, is this helpful? Now, I hope you found this video helpful, and if you have, I have a free 6-day challenge. It's a video program. It's completely free. It's called the 6 Days to Decisiveness Challenge. You can check that out at projectself.com.au/challenge. And I've also recorded a few other videos that I've mentioned with unconventional tips for taming your mind so you can get more clarity and feel a bit more resilient, even in the roller coaster. You can head to medibank.com.au/livebetteratHome to check out those videos and a bunch of other amazing videos from many different amazing humans on the Medibank Live Better at Home website. I hope you enjoy.